Ron and Mary came here at least 20 years ago, and they loved this church. And immediately, I felt their warmth, and they're close to our hearts as a family, Melanie and I, but also the church family.
In those early years, I had the privilege of attending Dr. Van's Jewish Roots class over at the Gedi house. And it was a little bit like sitting underneath a rabbi. He had that, they have that standing stone in their yard, and then mezuzah on the doorpost, and this little mini mikvah washing bowl inside the front hallway. He didn't have like a big beard or wear odd clothing, but he had this amazing passion about understanding the Jewish historical, cultural context of our faith.
It didn't take them long to love the values of this church, including loving this neighborhood. And when that property became available, their heart for mission was so clear to us and to them. They just said, hey, we're going to buy this piece of property. And already 15 years ago, they said, when we're done, when it's time for us to move on, go to eternity or move out of this house, it's going to be used for a ministry property, either by our children or by the church. And they've proved true.
Mary loved women's studies, and she was a great leader. She hosted women's Bible studies on Wednesday mornings, I believe, for years. And she was an incredible host. She had a lovely way of just embracing everyone and letting them just ask their questions honestly, sharing honestly, praying honestly.
One of the legacies of Dr. Ron and Mary is their investment in Dr. Emmanuel, who now is one of the premier doctors in Liberia, and his work just goes on and on.
Through our Madison Providence partnership, they met, and when Dr. Emmanuel came here, he was welcomed by the Van Valkenburgs and given a place not only to just lay his head, but to become a part of their family and to get the education that he needed.
Ron and Mary Van Valkenburg are models of how to leave a legacy. They thought about it for years, they figured out how to do it, and they left a legacy.
My dear friend, Andy Schreier, had just gotten involved in the youth ministry at Madison, and he really felt that God had called him to start a tutoring center, which is now housed in Restorers, called the Hattie Beverly Youth Development Center.
They built the space in order for them to be able to teach and to include people in their home and house people.
But it was more of their heart to say, we want to become a part of this community intentionally, and then invite others along for the ride. And so as part of their ministry, they opened their doors to Andy to live in their home and to then become a neighbor.
Ron is a person who, as a psychiatrist, as a doctor, he was a healer. And actually Mary was too, the two of them together. But you could feel it when you walked in the door. When he would talk to you, he would talk about your soul. He literally would ask about your soul. So he was, you might call him a doctor of the soul. And Mary, because the two of them worked together, there was an example of disciples who followed Jesus as a married couple.
I don't think that they could have ever imagined in the moment the lives that would change because they said yes to opening their door.